Well, like so many musicians going through what I just been going through, trying to get this thing working. I had it all happening on the iPad and thought, yeah, this will be a little better production. And then 2 seconds ago, the iPad just kind of quit. I don't know. So back on the old iPhone up there. Hi, everybody. This is Brian Blaine with episode 2 of the Blainecast. And hope to see a few folks out there. You know, I had suggested in a email that, or in a post that I would try to have a theme for each Blainecast, you know, and either, like I write a lot of songs about fellow musicians, or I write a lot of whiny songs about working in the music business and all the challenges involved there, and then I have a bunch of songs about the Eastern Townships, and I even have a bunch of songs in French if we had a bit of a French audience. But nobody really suggested a theme yet, so I'm just going to have to lay out the theme schedule myself. But for today, I have no theme in particular, but I'm going to, as if I wasn't trying enough new things, one of the things I wanted to do was... well, I'll save that for after I've done a couple of tunes, and then people that don't feel like hanging around for an experiment can move on, because there's been amazing, isn't it wonderful, all the great broadcasts that have been happening. I just saw one with Colin Linden that was terrific, and last night Alex Pangman and Tom Parker had a great soiree. You felt like you were in their kitchen. It was a beautiful thing. And a lot of other, Mark Kissinger I saw a bit of, and who else? Michelle Rumball. Anyway, a lot of people, and I'm missing a lot of this. And just to let you know, the Blues Society is not going to print a hard copy of the newsletter because of all this other stuff going on, but we're still going to do an online edition, and it will feature a lot of tips on who's doing some webcasting, some streaming, and maybe we'll have a kind of a listing of that. That's what I'm going to get into the minute I'm done with this. But I wanted to say, well, here's a little. This is a little bit about my job over at the TBS. I got a gun to my head, a deadline riding my ass. Everybody's expecting, I tell them yes, yes, yes. Please don't think I'm complaining, it's the life I choose. And life wouldn't be so sweet without the maple blues. I got a proofreading woman, mama don't miss a thing. A volunteer army, a well-oiled machine. Have you renewed your subscription? Don't miss the Loose Blues news. 'Cause life wouldn't be so sweet without the maple blues. I get a call in the morning from a blues musician down east. He wants to be on the cover, he wants 1,000-word piece. Let me talk to the tall guy, is there a pick we can use? 'Cause life wouldn't be so sweet without the maple blues. life wouldn't be so sweet without the maple blues. That's our little public service announcement to kick it off. And do go to torontobluessociety.com. Give it a couple of days before we get up a digital edition of the newsletter. And while you're on that site, click the subscribe button for the Where It's At, and you will get the weekly bulletin, which is now basically just listing all the up-and-coming webcasts of interest to the blues fans. So, what can we do then? If I got it, well, let me play. I might as well start off with the one request I did get. And tonight we had a little Buddhist meeting on Zoom. That was interesting. And here's a tune that a Christian friend requested. It's kind of my Buddhist take on Jesus. I had a dream about Jesus. Got to shake his hand. Got to know him in person. Got to understand. Got to feel his presence. And everything was okay. But then I awakened when I heard him say, you are also his son. He is in us both. God is the Spirit, and you are the host. Well, we were going to play with the looper a little bit, so let's try now. If you read your scripture, no matter what faith, it's all about loving. It's not about hate. Nothing is certain. We don't know what awaits. But if you get to meet Jesus, I reckon he'll say, you are also his son. He is in us both. God is the Spirit, and you are the host. God is the Spirit, and you are the host. Love them loopers. You know, I noticed a couple of musicians that were not likely candidates for getting into the looping generation. JW, for one, he was using one on his little cat. When you're by yourself, you know, what are you going to do if you want to take a little solo or something? These loopers have been the salvation of a lot of solo musicians, and I think as the price trickled down and it became a little bit more ubiquitous out there, more and more people picked one up, even if it's just at home for, practicing. And it's got a great little notepad, too, when you have some musical ideas. But what I've done is kind of take the looping to another level. And my son, the DJ, introduced me to this program. I'm seeing a note here. Somebody's probably saying there's no sound. Watching. No, no criticism. I guess everybody can hear me and see me. Although I sure wish it was on the iPad. I don't know what the hell happened. Now the iPad is working just fine. I look over here. Let's see if I'm showing up on the iPad. Am I even? Yeah, there I am. Just the top of my head. Holy shit, what's that? Let's move the phone down a little bit. Not that made any difference. And am I able to share that? That would be nice to know. Oh well. Gotta shut up on that one. Isn't it an amazing thing, all of this technology? But so what I was starting to say was this looping thing captivated me, and I've always been into it's kind of a guilty pleasure with this computer music stuff. And even when I had an Apple II computer back in the mid '80s, the minute I saw you could do music on this thing, I found out that there was something called MIDI. And I ordered a card for the computer, a MIDI card. I was surely the first on my block down there in Sutton, Quebec, to have a MIDI card in my computer. I was practically the first one to have a computer. And I was certainly the first one that was online, I have to say. In those days in Sutton, which was just 5 minutes from the Vermont border, there was no internet. But there was some kind of connection, and they had different names for it back then, but the one that was popular as that was in those days, just in the academic circles, probably the military-industrial complex was into it, and I was subscribed to something called CompuServe. And the problem with CompuServe is they did not come to Canada. They were strictly in the USA and maybe other parts of the world. But if you were in Canada, you couldn't subscribe to CompuServe. You couldn't get an account, and you couldn't plug into all of that. So I had to go, and I set up a little business. I got a post office box in Richford, Vermont. I opened a bank account at the bank in Richford, Vermont. And I was able to pay my bills through that bank and have everything sent to that post office. And even so, that way I was able to get a login, and I was now on CompuServe on a modem that was, I think it was 128, not meg, 128 bytes or whatever. It was just as slow as you could go. The computer itself was 16K. It was an Apple Plus, or whatever they call it, extended, because it had 16K of memory instead of the usual 8K. Anyway, all this to say, I started getting into the music right away, and I was trying to use these programs in ways they were never intended, and I was trying to do them in real time, and I even dragged that computer out to a few gigs there in Quebec, and half the time it was a train wreck. And but then there was this program called MIDI Paint. I started working with that and then I got a little Apple SE, Mac SE. That was just that little square box that some might remember. And I was using that also in an awkward way, but it was making little loops, and I was playing along with myself, and I was having fun with that. And then my son, the DJ, fast forward a few years, he's gotten into a program called Ableton Live. And that's what I've been using for the last few years. And on the last album, New Folk Blues, when I did the 2.0 version of that, I had Joel come on board, and one of the tunes we had done was The Ghost of Clinton's Tavern, and we had a track, just me and George Kohler on the bass, and I got Joel to lay out a whole electronica landscape over the top of that. And we put it out that way. And as it turned out, that song, that track, it got more traction, as it were, than anything else on that album. And people thought it was kind of cool. And some people probably thought it was a bit off the wall. But now I thought for this upcoming album, I wanted to do it again. And I had one tune in mind, the last tune of the album. Maybe I'll sing that one for you, and that'll lead in to what I'm trying to do with it. The tune is called Have a Toke. I'm saving that to launch it on 420. But I'll sing it for you, and then I'm going to fire up the Ableton and show you what I'm trying to do for a remix, basically a real-time remix of, I grabbed 2 bars off of that, of just little 2 bars of the guitar going. Anyway, this is how it goes. In Grandpa's days, he couldn't get a drink 'cause of some overzealous Christians. Now we celebrate the end of one more prohibition. Have a toke, have a toke. Whatever is hurting, you'll feel better for certain with a smoke. You can't sleep, you don't eat. Well, you tried the medication, why not have a hit of weed? Have a toke, have a toke. You'll feel right as rain, might even lessen your pain with a smoke. Like I told my teenage son, if all you want is to get real zonked, you might as well get drunk. Drunk as a skunk. Or have a toke. Have a toke. Whatever is hurting, you'll feel better for certain with a smoke. So things are tough, yeah. You had enough. If you're feeling down, light up and have a little puff. Have a toke. Have a toke. Whatever is hurting, you'll feel better for certain with a smoke. Have a toke. Have a toke. You'll feel right as rain, might even lessen your pain with a smoke. Have a toke. Have a toke. You'll be glad to discover it could help you recover from a stroke if you have a little toke. if you can see this kind of segueing into a whole other thing. Get ready. I don't know what to expect here. Maybe I should go up and just see if this is selected. Is it going to loop? Is it going to play? Okay, that's how it ends. All right, and then all this other stuff happens. Oops, something got shifted. Oh, it ain't sounding quite like it's supposed to, but I've got this great little device here. Looks like this. This has been great fun, but now if I try to do a loop using the MIDI, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll try it. Oh yeah, that's drifting. Flipping knobs here and trying to you see what I'm talking about? Well, for those that want to follow up on this, you'll see, we'll get a nice musical soundscape out of this. And I'm not going to wait till next Sunday. I think this is the last thing I have to do to finish this album. And I had kind of given up on it until this crisis happened. I am now on my 14th day of solitary confinement here. And I think that encouraged me to get back into it because I was really ready to let it lie and just put out a pretty acoustic album. But now I think I'm going to have a little more time on my hands. So I will be checking in again, and next Sunday we'll do a themed Blainecast. But between now and then, I might just poke up and let you follow me as I struggle through this. And let me tell you, it is deep shit that we're in here, trying to make beautiful sounds out of all of this electronica. But the idea of an intelligent looper, where it's not just repeating the notes I just played, but it's looking at the notes I played and throwing back other notes and other sounds that sort of fit with that. And it's quite amazing using some of the artificial intelligence that you could plug in. It is, you can even, what I've been experimenting with, I'll share this with you few folks that are watching now. People heard me talk about the Robot Johnson project, and that was always about trying to capture the DNA of those few recordings that Robert Johnson made, where he had such classic riffs, and using them as a what they call a groove template. And that means that it would kind of overlay whatever you were playing, and it would kind of give it that feel a little. Anyway, it's still a work in progress, but I'm going to leave you with that. And thanks to those that joined in. Have we got the signage? If you look down, whoops, that might have gone away. Somewhere here is my PayPal link, paypal.me/Brian Blaine, or e-transfer to Brian Blaine at, I think I'm using the Gmail, Brian Blaine at brianblaine.ca, or Brian Blaine at Gmail, or just come to my door and slip a few bucks, because it was very nice. I have to say, the last time I made about as much from the tip jar as I would playing down there at Castro's or something. So I really appreciate the support. It's hard times, and it's great to see the entire blues and music fan base stepping up and tossing in a few bucks as if they were going out for a night, except it's not even going to cost that much because you've got your own beer this time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.